fights. First one I'm going to talk about is the exhibition between Floyd Mayweather and Don Moore. Um, this is actually interesting as an exhibition because, I was listening to Blue Blood Sports TV and he was saying pretty much the same thing. Don Moore actually, now, if you go and you look at Don Moore's pro fights, he's never really gone beyond 8 rounds. That's the first thing. But there's a lot of interesting stuff. Don Moore has been a sparring partner of Floyd Mayweather for a good period of time to prepare him and sharpen him up for fights. And so there's a familiarity that Don Moore knows what Floyd does there. That's the first thing. Even when you look at the work they did live, I think it was Floyd's last fight against Andre Berto when Floyd was sparring Don Moore. Don Moore was holding his own against Floyd. Now, here's the thing about Don Moore that I find very interesting. So this is a real fighter. He hasn't had a fight since 2017. His career kind of stalled after Roger died, I guess, as well. But also, it seems as though he had some sort of problems. I remember it was him and another guy. They was clashing with each other, and something happened there. Two undefeated fighters that were supposed to face each other, they never did. And something happened with Don Moore's career after that. Like it fell through, and the other guy's career fell through. It's very interesting. But anyway, Don Moore, there used to be a hot name, actually, in the Mayweather boxing gym. I don't think either of them were promoted by Mayweather Promotions. But nonetheless, Don Moore is a prodigy of Roger Mayweather. Roger Mayweather actually trained Don Moore. So there's that as well going on in there. Don's now trained by what's the guy's name? I forgot his name. Kenny Johnson, I believe is his name. He's trained by him. So let me get into this because I find this very interesting and intriguing. That they're doing an exhibition fight and Floyd's actually fighting his sparring partner. So Don knows what Floyd does. Floyd's older. Don's older too. They're both in their 40s. Very skilled fighters. Don is a very skilled fighter. Floyd is a very skilled fighter. So you're going to get an exhibition where you're going to get a good fight. Now, will it be a sparring session or will it be a all-out fight in terms of a real fight with skills and everything? And Don's trying to knock out Floyd, and because I believe they're going to have the normal size gloves. It's not going to be sparring gloves size. It's going to be like 8-ounce gloves. All right, let me explain a couple things about Don. Don is longer than Floyd. Don is taller than Floyd. And Don is bigger than Floyd. Now, even though Don was fighting, I believe, at super lightweight, I believe he was fighting at. In this fight, coming into this fight, he's going to be a super welterweight. He's 154 pounds. To tell you how seriously Floyd took this fight, Floyd is coming to this fight at 150 pounds. That's the kind of fight shape Floyd would be in if he was fighting a super welterweight. So obviously, when I think about it, both guys weighed in. It realized this is like a super welterweight fight. And Floyd is definitely in shape for this one because Don's not a guy he can sleep on. This is not a Logan Paul fight. This is not a tension fight. This is not a Conor McGregor fight even. This is a fight where you got to be in shape because if you're not ready for Don Moore, you're not really ready for Don Moore. Don Moore could make you look real stupid, okay? Because that's the kind of fighter. And Floyd would know because he knows he sparred Don quite a lot. So I truly believe that this is actually going to be a really good exhibition for a boxing enthusiast, a boxing purist, because Don knows Floyd's style, because Don, I'm sure, has continued on as a fighter, honing his skills and building his skills. And we'll see if Floyd has slipped up a bit. I'm sure he's much slower than he used to be. He seems bigger than he used to be, but he's not really, because obviously his weight is 150 pounds, which is a little bit bigger than 147 or 146. He used to come in 146. He's coming real super shredded and stuff. But still, bearing all that in mind, that the man came in 150 pounds, Floyd's not a big dude. So I was saying that Don is 5'10" with a 74-inch reach. This is the length and height of, say, Oscar De La Hoya. Bear that in mind. That is the height and length as well of, say, Sugar Ray Leonard. It's the height and length of, say, a Sugar Ray Robinson. That is the height and length of, say, a Jerome Ennis. Okay. So Jerome Ennis, I believe he has a 72-inch reach. I think Sugar Ray Robinson had a 72-inch reach. Leonard had a 74-inch reach. So what I'm saying is, this is a guy who could be a very big welterweight. Now, Blue Blood was trying to allude, or sort of he was trying to hint that Floyd might come back for another pro fight. His suspicion is that he would come back, say, to fight somebody like maybe a Manny Pacquiao, or maybe an Oscar De La Hoya, or maybe a Danny Garcia. I think he said Danny Garcia. He didn't say Manny Pacquiao, Oscar De La Hoya. Me personally, I think that he's using the sparring as a litmus test. I personally don't think it's that deep. I don't think Floyd's ever going to come back into the pro circuit. I think he's just going to do exhibitions. He's raking in $50 million for this exhibition. I don't know how many rounds this exhibition is going. Maybe it's going 4 rounds. Maybe it's going 8 rounds. Whatever distance it's going. I do know that this is an exhibition. I don't think you'll see Floyd in the pro circuit ever again. I think that's done with. But what I do expect is Floyd to face a lot of guys in exhibitions, get them some paychecks, but always relevant guys and big guys. And I think he might even actually start to face more boxers. Don Moore may be the testing ground for that. But I can see him, for example, doing an exhibition with Oscar De La Hoya. I could see that. Definitely. Maybe an 8-rounder, whatever. And I could see that being a big fight as an exhibition. I could see him doing an exhibition with, say, a Manny Pacquiao. Especially when Manny Pacquiao lost the elections and stuff. And I could see that being a huge fight as well. I could see him doing an exhibition with, say, because he had promised him, Amir Khan. In fact, they reported, I don't know how true this is, it was reported that, Floyd Mayweather wanted Amir Khan to stay a pro in boxing so he could fight him. Because apparently Floyd had promised Amir Khan he would face him in his career. I could see him doing an exhibition with Amir Khan. I really can. And I think Amir Khan, Ricky Hatton's coming back in exhibitions, so why not? Exhibitions, the beautiful thing about exhibitions I like is you can set your own rules. You don't have to worry about weight. You can devise it. Of course, you can still knock people out and all of that stuff, but exhibitions allow for fighters who never meet each other to meet each other. So I just think it's a great thing that Floyd is doing for the sport and everything. Because, take for instance, I know he's not as big, but still, Sergio Martinez always wanted to face Mayweather. All right? When these guys are advanced in age, why not get him a big paycheck? I could see a Floyd versus Sergio Martinez happening. Paul Williams, he's in a wheelchair, so we can't get that fight. But we could get a fight like Floyd versus Winky Wright. We could get Floyd versus, I know Winky Wright way over the edge, but still, give the man a paycheck. You know what I'm saying? I'm just calling some legendary names, but nonetheless, Floyd at certain points, in other words, what I'm saying is like Corey Spinks, Winky Wright. These were fights Floyd actually wanted to have, actually. He wanted to face Winky Wright. He actually wanted to face Corey Spinks. He never got to face Corey Spinks. Corey Spinks is a trainer, I know, but still, he can get himself up in shape for $3-4 million. It's an exhibition. You get like a check for like $1 million for an exhibition, like 8 rounds. Come on, man. I'm just saying these things to say, Mike Tyson did something when he faced Roy Jones Jr. He kind of opened the door for guys who, you know, who their careers are done, but it's still safe for them to enter an exhibition against a guy from their era if they could get themselves into shape, and it motivates them to get themselves into shape and stuff. I saw Riddick Bowe. People didn't want to see Riddick Bowe back in the ring because he took so much punishment. But if it's an exhibition, just to see the two guys in the ring, come on, man. And this would be something that Riddick Bowe would be so happy about because that's what he is. He's a fighter. You take away the flame from a fighter. And I know it's a dangerous sport. I understand that. But sometimes people need to get the chance to take their risks and just be in the element. Guys ain't going to go hard. Who is going to go hard on Riddick Bowe? Unless Riddick Bowe start going hard. Nobody going to go hard on Riddick Bowe. But just to see him in the ring. It's like seeing Ali in the ring again. There's something beautiful about that. I'm just saying. James Toney in the ring. I love to see these guys. I know they way past it or whatever, but they legends. And something about the legend just being in the ring. And having respect for that. I'm just saying. And if they good enough that they, people could try and knock them out, whatever, do what you got to do. An exhibition sets certain safe measures in there. And people do their exhibitions. Fights that I never seen fighters face. Sometimes you're like, what if? Well, why not just have it as an exhibition? You know what I'm saying? Have it as an exhibition. If they around about the same age, they come from around about the same era, why not? Roy and Tyson were around about the same era. Tyson was about fading out, and Roy was, peaking. So Roy faced Tyson much later in the exhibition. It was very entertaining to me. And people paid their money. Most people were satisfied. Again, we had the grumpy, growly, stupid ass people who just come out there to just moan and groan. But the majority of people out there, they enjoyed the fight. Let me turn this on. It's kind of hot. Gotta drink some water too. So my personal opinion on this whole thing is, when it comes to seeing exhibitions, the cool thing about the exhibitions is this. You're not taking away from the pro game. You're not taking anybody's pro game bread off the table. You know what I'm saying? And that's the cool thing about boxing, about fighting. And for fighters who still got the itch and they want to go back into the ring and they want to fight, you got exhibitions for that. And you can set the rules to, as far as, I look at Julio Cesar Chavez. He's still fighting. That's why Chavez called out Floyd. Chavez called out Floyd because Chavez still fighting. I'd love to see Chavez versus Floyd. Floyd, take it easy on Chavez now. Take it easy on the old man. But if you want it, give him it. He's an icon of Mexico. Now, it's kind of dangerous because, when Oscar De La Hoya beat Chavez so bad, all of Mexico hated Oscar for that. You know what I'm saying? They hated him for that because Oscar beat the crap out of Chavez. Chavez was still fighting. He was live. He was a live dog in that. Don't get twisted. But people didn't like Oscar for that. And I could see, Chavez picking a fight with Floyd and Floyd making Chavez kind of looks a little bit silly or whatever. And people just don't like Floyd for that, So I could see that happening. But if Floyd plays cards right, he's so well controlled in the ring. He should be able to give Chavez his moments to pound on his arms and his shoulders and shit. Don't laugh or nothing. Just let him, pretend, play along with him. And, and let Chavez do his thing. And when ready, you do your thing and showcase your skills and showcase what you could do in the ring. You do your Floyd thing and make a beautiful exhibition. You know what I mean? You have to hold back a bit. Because Chavez is the old dude. You don't want to be touching that guy and hurting him in any kind of way. But at least you demonstrate your defense and you show him different things. Nobody hated Colonel Whitaker when he beat Chavez. You know what I'm saying? So once Floyd don't break him or try to knock him out or some shit like that, I think people would be able to see Chavez do his thing, Floyd do his thing, and people would be happy about it. I think most people just want to see icons fight. If the icons want to, not if they don't want to, then forget about it, because some icons would be like, I don't want to be no puppet for nobody's amusement anymore. So I get it. Some of the icons out there this is my major point. Some of the icons out there, they're discouraged by what boxing really is, right? When they found out what the game really was, a lot of them got sour. So a lot of them are, because, promoters owe them money, taxes, and all kinds of things came down their backs. I heard them. Don't forget to smash the like button if you like it. And it's been tough for some of these fighters. And this is why, for me, I would love to see a guy in Floyd's position sort of highlight these guys. Bring them back out. Some of the great fighters from the past. Do an exhibition and spar them to bring attention to those guys if they still in shape. I know some really great boxers nobody really talks about, and it'd be nice for Floyd to showcase these old legends. So maybe you start off with a Chavez, but then you take somebody else that nobody else remembers, and put them in the spotlight. Floyd loved. He's not doing bad, but nonetheless, Floyd loved Ricardo Lopez. He loved Gennaro Hernandez. He loved Chiquito Gonzalez. Okay? Floyd loved certain fighters. And it would be nice, I know Chiquito don't need it, but it would be nice, even though you are a different weight class, to spar these little dudes or spar the bigger dudes. And I think Floyd has a template to do quite a lot of things when it comes to exhibitions. And I think there's a lot that can be done with exhibition. Let me tell you something about boxing. Once boxing's in the forefront and people are talking about boxing, boxing's always going to do well. So if you're a proponent of boxing, anything that has to do with boxing, where we are talking about boxing, that's great. So think about this. The greatest honor you could do as a warrior, right? The greatest honor you could do is fight somebody you deem worthy to fight as a warrior, especially a great warrior. So if you say, I want to honor you by fighting you, that's a great thing. And you're going to give due respect to these people for the foundation that they laid. So you're not just going to fight them any old how. You're going to fight them with respect to showcase their skills, because it's an exhibition. It's about showcasing your skills first, and then secondly, winning or whatever you want to do. Okay? And to show honor to these people that they are worthy to be in the ring with you, you're not going to just try and knock them out. Okay? That's just disrespectful. This is why Vito Belfort, when he knocked out Evander Holyfield, people felt disrespected. And they felt Holyfield was disrespected. Even though Holyfield didn't care. He was like, this is a real fight. This is what I want. You don't do that to your icons. And this is what Floyd was saying about Chavez. But I'm saying Floyd don't need to do that. Floyd loves Chavez. He has him in his top 5 greatest fighters of all time, right? So, obviously, Floyd, in his reverence for Chavez, you're not going to put it on Chavez. That's stupid. But you want people to see Chavez while protecting yourself. So, he's throwing all those combinations. You're picking them all off, right? You're picking off the combinations. But at the same time, you want people to see his combinations. You want people to see his aggression. You want to see people to see the Chavez. He might be landing shit, but you want to see him do his thing. You know what I'm saying? And that's the exhibition thing. And maybe he gets a punch in. Who knows? But you can use the footwork, move around the ring, do what you do. All I'm saying is that exhibitions could be a tremendously inspiring thing for a lot of people, and it will put boxing in people's eyes. Now, this weekend also we got this great fight, a real fight, with David Benavidez versus David Lemieux. I'm going to talk about that. I think I talked about it already, but I'm going to talk about it again. But my point is, there is nothing wrong with having David Benavidez versus David Lemieux, and then having this exhibition on the side. It's a sideshow, obviously, because it's an exhibition. We don't take exhibitions and put them over a live pro fight. That doesn't make no sense. But at the same time, boxing's always had this history of exhibitions from 1900 whatever till now. So it'd be nice to see the exhibition. I'm totally into it. I want to get to pay for it, but I don't have the money in my bank account right now. I have money, but I don't have it in my bank account. So I can do transactions online, but I can still make that arrangement and get it done today if I want to. But the cool thing about it anyway is this: it's a cool exhibition. And of course, the fight card is pretty good. You got Anderson Silva on there, and you got Delphine Pursoon on there, and you got Battle Jack on there. That is 3 champions you got on there. Now you got MMA champion in Anderson Silva, and he's facing an undefeated fighter. I forgot the guy's name. Maybe I should remember it just in case the guy beat Anderson Silva. You never know what could happen in boxing. This is boxing, okay? And then you have Delphine Pursuit actually defending her world title against a number 1 contender. I think it's the WBC title as well. So that's a good fight. I didn't get to hear Delphine Pursuit speak or anything like that because I guess we're in in Dubai and women don't get to speak. I don't know what's going on there because the woman was doing the interview. I don't understand it, but she didn't get to speak and say anything. And but I love Delphine Pursoon, so I love this card because of that. That's not an exhibition, that's an actual fight. Battle Jack's also having an actual fight. It's more like a stay busy for him. He's thinking he's going to get the fight pretty soon. But nonetheless, Battle Jack will be fighting on that card, as well as Anderson Silva's going to be fighting on that card in a real pro boxing event and against an undefeated pro boxer in the division that he's fighting in. So it should be really interesting. So I mean, there's several different reasons to watch this fight. You got Anderson Silva on it, you got Battle Jack on it, and you got a championship fight in Delphine, a women's boxing at that. Delphine Pursoon versus I don't know who the challenger is. I know her name, but it's just slipping me. And then on top of that, let's not forget, we also have Mayweather versus the main event, which is Mayweather versus Moore, and that would be a good fight. So the card looks really good. It's really a great card. I'd advise you guys to go pick it up on pay-per-view if it's cheap enough. If it's not that, if it's too expensive, well, of course you might have to pass up on it. But that's some pretty good fights right there. I'm looking forward to seeing how that turns out, how the fights turn out. If Don Moore pulls the upset and actually, well, even though it's an exhibition, maybe he drops Floyd or hurts him or outboxes him or outjobs him. You never know. So we're going to see what happens. And Don Moore said after this bout, depending on how it goes, if he does a great performance, he's looking at Jake Paul next. And I think that's a good fight for Jake Paul, except Don Moore is a lot smaller than Jake Paul. Jake Paul's like a cruiserweight. And Don Moore is like a 154-pounder. Very skilled boxer. So, I mean, anything could happen in that fight. I would love to see Jake Paul versus Don Moore. I'd love to see Jake Paul versus Floyd Mayweather. But his brother Logan Paul already faced Floyd. But Jake would be the one I would actually want to see face Floyd. I think Jake has a lot better boxing acumen and boxing skill than Logan does. And I think he has, even though Logan has good knockout power as well, we see him he dropped KSI, I believe it was once in that fight. But because he hit him as he was going down, he didn't get a knockdown, but he has some good power, Logan. But Jake, I would love to see Jake against Floyd. That would be great. Of course, I don't know if that will happen, but that's a good fight. Jake also is talking about going against Mike Tyson, so that would be also a good fight. I love to see Jake versus Mike Tyson, Jake versus Mayweather, Jake versus Don Moore, Jake versus Paulie Malignaggi, any one of those guys. Nah, not Paulie. Let's leave Paulie out of that. Paulie's too small. Paulie's too small. But those would be guys who are actually above Jake's level. So you're talking about, for example, Don Moore is, he's like what, 18-0, 19-0. So, Don Moore has gotten to 8-rounders, so that would be a good fight. Also, very good fight, actually. Even though he's significantly smaller than Jake Paul, that would be a very interesting fight. Don't forget to smash the like button. So, but, Don Moore talking about taking on Jake Paul, that would be interesting. And like I said before, exhibitions, if you're talking exhibitions, if you're talking sideshows, remember boxing has sideshows and they got exhibitions and then they got the real thing. Mayweather versus Conor McGregor was a sideshow. I did a piece on in can't remember what it was. I did a piece in boxing pugilism and history, and what I was talking about was the crossover event that was called Conor McGregor versus Floyd Mayweather. That was a crossover event, and it wasn't a crossover event is like a shy show. It's not like a main pro boxing event, but yet it is. And in this case, because it was a pro fight, some people said it should have been an exhibition. Quite frankly, um, the only reason why they're saying that is because it was so high profile. It was so high profile, but I mean, every single great I know has faced a very subpar fighter to them in their careers. And I'm talking about well into their careers. I'm not talking when they're building their careers. I'm talking about well into their careers. You can always find somebody who they call it cherry picks, they call it stay busies, whatever. You know. Now Connor wasn't a stay busy. He was a sort of wild card. We didn't know what to expect from Connor because he had done stand up in the MMA. His technique wasn't the greatest, but then again he was awkward. And against Floyd Mayweather in the fight, we saw that he had the ability to hit you. He caught Floyd with an uppercut early in the fight, and he also had some decent-ish skills. He's not totally refined, but he used his length, his reach, and stuff. He didn't expect Floyd to be coming at him, so he was cramped for space a lot, and he started behaving weird. He was thinking he was going to be the one dictating, but he has decent power. He doesn't have bad power. Okay, he's not a monster like he was in the UFC where he just knock out guys. He wasn't that, but he definitely has respectable power, And Floyd didn't try to get hit by him often. He did land his money punch on Floyd to try and stop him. He tried to knock out Floyd, didn't work. Floyd's got a hell of a chin. He always had a beard. He tried landing body shots. Didn't deter Floyd. Floyd kept walking him down. Really put the heat on him. For 10 rounds, and so he got him out of there. But the fight itself, while I know it's a sideshow fight, the reason why I speak about it as a pro fight is because it was very significant in terms of crossover fights. In terms of crossover fights, this fight started off the Holly Holm versus Ronda Rousey, where Holly Holm stopped Ronda Rousey. We saw crossovers that were successful. Anderson Silva versus Julio Cesar Chavez Jr., Vito Belfort versus Evander Holyfield was not really quite the thing. He was supposed to face Oscar De La Hoya. I would have loved to see that. But Vito Belfort's got a pro career now from retired MMA fighter. We have guys now that can be able to do crossover events a lot more. Jake Paul did some with what's his name? Two MMA fighters. So, the UFC is kind of allowing more of the MMA guys to move across the boxing. And I'm just saying, that opens the door for a lot of possibilities. A lot of possibilities. Now, guys can actually, Tyron Woodley, that's the name, MZ. Thank you very much. It opens up more possibilities for fighters now to get more paychecks. To move between sports. I see Amanda Serrano, Clarissa Shields, following in Holly Holm's footsteps, and they're training in MMA and they're also training in boxing. And I'm just saying, you can get paychecks in the lull times. When you can't get boxing fights, you can get MMA fights. When you can't get MMA fights, you get boxing fights. So you're a more all-rounded, well-rounded fighter, period. And I think that's just great for both sports. I think that's a good thing. And so, I think Floyd started something. It's not, they had been crossover fights before with James Toney and a couple other fighters who have done this stuff before, but not like this. And it started a wave, and I think Floyd is onto something there. And who knows? Y'all keep your fingers crossed, because Floyd might end up in the cage facing a Conor McGregor or somebody like that. Some big name. He might end up in the cage. Don't rule it out. So we're gonna see. I know he's training in the background still with MMA. I know he's still doing that while he's going on business trips and stuff. He's still working on that. And trust me, he might go into the cage and he might face an MMA fighter. I believe it would be Conor. if Conor can stay on top. I think he's gonna face Conor in the cage. I'm pretty sure. It's not, escaped his mind. It's just that you're out of work and take your time to work towards something to do it well. So once you do it well enough, and you well enough, you could get the win off of it. Then you proceed to the next step. But don't get twisted. He might be in the cage. I'm telling you, man. The man might go into the octagon. Y'all gonna be shocked when he pulls it on you. So don't get it twisted, man. That dude, he be working on stuff. Um, but quite frankly, I think that this would be. I think this fight here should be interesting. Amongst all the fights on that card, the card is actually pretty interesting. I mean, we get to see your star fighters showcase their skills. Um, and then you got one legitimate fight on there, as far as I know. I can't really say. That would be Pursoon versus the number one contender for a title. So I'm looking forward to that. Um, with respect to the other boxing that I want to talk about with you guys, I want to talk about it some other time. But I'm what you need. Peace, people. You can share this video with other people, as well as I'm supposed to leave my PayPal in the comment section below so you guys can donate to the channel. So I'm going to try and do that. I'm going to catch you guys later. Peace.